Well, I believe that it's absolutely amazing situation that we can start our opening session with such great speakers. Well, Katarzyna Walczyk-Matuszyk, moderator of this session, the president of the Association of Top 500 Innovators. Katarzyna, the floor is yours. Let's start the session. Katarzyna, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. I don't know, Kashik, I don't think, can you hear?
I can.
Kasha, I think that we can hear you. You can start right away. Oh, let's just not take time from what Kasia is doing right now and introduce ourselves, and hopefully she will be able to join us soon, right? So Justyna Janiszewska from the Fulbright Poland.
Paul Marca, formerly Stanford University, now Parallax Global Advisors.
Grażyna Żebrowska, Director of National Agency for Academic Exchange.
Piotr Moncarz, initially Director of the program at Top 500 Innovators at Stanford.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. So as already introduced, my name is
One sentence and we've lost you.
Then I will continue introducing myself. Adjunct Professor, Stanford University, Chair, U.S. Polish Trade Council. That would be for starters.
Kasia, can you speak now? Well, it looks like our moderator has the vision, but not audio. So I'm sorry to step in, but you know, it's my birthday today, so I feel like I can do whatever I want.
Happy birthday.
Happy
We are very
birthday.
sorry that we have some technical issues,
We
but
are
I believe that in a second Kasia will join us.
We are very well briefed for today, so why don't we start with the first question that Kasia
Please.
wanted to ask us? And Paul, why don't you go ahead and tell us, how are you today?
Well, I wish it were my birthday, but so a little bit about my journey at Stanford University. I was there for 32 years, almost my entire professional career, and I have departed Stanford University. So it's a huge step. I'm very excited. I'm actually helping many as an advisor. Parallax Advisors is the LLC I've just created to focus on helping those in the education space interested in extending and expanding their effort, both in terms of pedagogy. How do you think about that sort of coordination of strategy as well as technology? How do you use and leverage technology like we're doing here to make an impact in the world? So I'm excited about this new portion of the journey. And indeed, I was proud to work with two universities in Poland, in Białystok, to think about how we might advise them to coordinate and combine forces in this era where technology and change is afoot. And I think many of us are, and many universities as institutions are experiencing challenging times. So happy to help, and Professor Montage and I were involved in that engagement. Would love to do more if there's interest.
Hello, I believe you can hear me now. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry for that. It's always bad luck with online things. Always something happened the moment it shouldn't. but at least I'm now with you. Thank you very much, Patricia, for replacing me for a while. My name is Katarzyna Walczyk-Matuszyk. Again, I'm the president of the board of the Top 500 Innovators, and I have excellent guests with us, people connected with the Top 500 community. So today with us is Director Katarzyna Żebrowska, Director of National Agency for the Academic Exchange, Justyna Janiszewska, Executive Director at Polish US Fulbright Commission, Paul, who is a strategist, advisor, design thinker, keynote speaker, Parallax Global Advisor, and Professor Moncasz, adjunct professor at Stanford University. My first question will be, or rather, well, it's a question indeed, how are you in this turbulent time? What are your latest projects? What are you doing? Director Żebrowska. Please turn on the micro.
You are on mute, Grażyna.
Yes. I switch on. Sorry about that. I try to follow all instructions. I forgot to switch on the mic. Again, thank you very much for the invitation. I am very happy to see you guys. It was so long. With I think 5 years last time in Washington DC to celebrate Independence Days. All I think even 10 years when I visited California and Stanford University, and Houston 1 year when we celebrate the 60th anniversary of Fulbright program in Poland. And so thank you very much, Kasia, for inviting me and for this possibility to see my friends. What me right now and and how I doing in this. Right now, I am director of National Agency for Academic Exchange. And, I can work on the Polish side in Poland on this very interesting subject for international cooperation. Of course, this international cooperation has changed during the pandemic. And the major challenge for me and for NAVA during the pandemic was the continuing and ensuring the continuity of the NAVA programs that are based on international cooperation. And we have tried to be as flexible and understanding as possible for our beneficiaries to maintain the continuity of the projects financed by NAVA. In cases, we managed to extend projects upcoming years. In other cases, we're able to carry out programs fully online, as in the case of the Polish culture courses. And to meet the expectations of our beneficiaries and respond to the needs of today's world, we decided to design new programs, among others, the urgent grants, a Polish grant for rapid changing world. And this is a special program which enables scientists to finance the logistic surrounding scientific work and travel to research sites swiftly. The choice of scientists who obtain funding depends chiefly on the nature of the phenomenon to be studied. For instance, it depends on the changing world. What matters is scientific significance of the problem and the need to decide and study the problem fast. Research related to COVID-19 is one example of a project that could be financed with this program. So right now, with all these programs, so I will pass the floor to other participants of this panel.
Thank you very much. So we can see it's a lot of work, it's busy time. Paul, I heard that you already started a bit, but if you could share with us, because the last time we met, it was 2000, I don't remember, even 15 or 16, you came to Warsaw. You came to Warsaw during, we had our annual meeting in Warsaw, and we had the opportunity to meet face to face. So how are you? How about your new projects?
So I mentioned I have retired from Stanford after 32 years. So one of the highlights of my career, in fact, was the Top 500 program, which I'm so proud, along with Professor Montage, we had an idea. What if we could work with the best and the brightest in Poland and help bring them to the Silicon Valley and give them inspiration as well as tools to make an impact? And we're so proud that has happened. And I'm so glad to see many friends in joining this session. So thank you so much. As I mentioned, I'm developed a little consulting and advising firm around education, intersection of education and strategy and technology, which of course is the right time. And I think one of the things that we're seeing in the US, especially is many universities are struggling to stay afloat. And I'll talk a little bit about this in the innovation section. But Professor Montage and I did a consulting engagement in Białystok to help support two universities as they came together and brought different systems and services and people. It's a complicated endeavor, a complicated effort, and I think we can help. So thank you for the opportunity again. I'm just so excited to see so many friends and family, and then to think a little bit about how we can continue to inspire innovation, even in this difficult time.
Thank you, Paul. Very nice to see you. So you mentioned Professor Montage. I will pass the floor to Professor Montage. So with Professor Montage, we had the opportunity to see each other more often, but still it has been quite a while. I haven't visited Warsaw, I believe. So tell us, how about you?
Well, the most important thing is that I am not visiting Warsaw as often as I would like to, particularly since March. But times have been busy, and we are trying to do our best not to be idle. And so the first thing that happened, my class in spring quarter, suddenly I had to teach on Zoom, and I had to struggle to find the right buttons to press. Luckily, the students are so much smarter now than the professors in the tools. So they were instructing me during the class how I'm supposed to teach the class. That was a fantastic experience, very good. And then to go to another end of the spectrum, as you know, I'm involved in the US-Polish Trade Council right from the beginning. And we had the annual conference, which of course Top 500 always attended when they were still at Stanford, Berkeley. This time the annual conference had to be postponed, and eventually we decided that we are not going to have a year without this US-Poland Science and Technology Symposium. We are going to have it. And as we decided we are going to have it, we said, okay, Zoom is the magic tool. That sort of a Stanford adopted Zoom, so we decided to do it by Zoom, and everything sounded very simple till we started looking into the details, like we were facing today with Google about Kasia disappearing, reappearing, hearing, not hearing. Well, how do we do it? Well, we had 300 people at the conference for 3 days, and we had not a single failure, and all of this because in 3 weeks, we just crammed the knowledge about how to operate Zoom. We had a team that worked day and night, literally trying to learn how to do it. So it is possible to do it. And the conference, funny enough, was a pandemic accelerated digital transformation. In other words, something that we might be discussing today, how will the world look after the pandemic? And of course, Paul Marka was one of our speakers. We cannot imagine our conference without Paul. Otherwise, in business, I will not say business as usual because nothing is as usual right now. But there are businesses that are trying to deliver the service that they delivered before using different tools, different means. So at the Exponent, where I'm very active still for last 40 years, 40. Paul, I'm beating you here. Okay, we are still doing well, and the stock market thinks that the company is doing well, so that's rather important for public company. And my not any longer startup, because for many years geothermic solution is taking off, because oil and gas realizes that there is the end of the era is approaching, and they have to figure out what they want to do in the future. And so the geothermal heat harvesting idea is coming to fruition. So we are working on that. And for teaching still online with students, having working sessions, and that works all right. A lot of contacts nowadays are in a way easier than they were before. You can make appointment with people that before you had to go through many doors to get to them, but now you can meet on Zoom or on Google, on Microsoft Teams for 50 minutes, half an hour. You figure out, do we want to talk any longer? Then you extend the session. If you don't want to say, you say, well, we only schedule 15 minutes. Thank you very much. That's happening. It's a new culture, both in academia and in business. I see it very strongly. Of course, it can get tiresome because it's not so easy to tell somebody that you don't have 15 minutes on the screen without travel, without walking. So you sort of jump from meeting to meeting. The number of meetings per day now is totally incredible in comparison to a year ago. Sometimes my neck aches from this. Yes.
Thank you very much. So a lot of changes, a lot of work again. Something is ending, something is beginning. Justina, how about you? Because you also deal with a difficult topic now, I believe, related to the exchange. How about Fulbright and the new projects?
But still yeah, as Professor Moncar said, it's not business as usual, definitely, but we're recruiting for the academic year 22-23, hoping that the world will be back to the new normal by that time. And we are developing some new initiatives. We are concentrating part of our energy at work with our alumni and on the initiatives that we were already working on before. I'm very happy to be back to the Top Minds program that we are organizing together with Top 500 Innovators. We've just finished recruitment of mentees, and hopefully before Christmas we'll have the whole new group and we'll be able together to start working with them in January 2021. Whether it will be stationary or online work, can't tell right now, but we are very excited to be back to that program. So it's a mix. It's a mix of, coping with current crisis and looking forward. And well, I have to say that I really envy Grażyna this possibility to invent new tools, this flexibility that in this difficult time an agency like NAVA has, because we are working in a pretty stiff framework for the program. And even if this year some temporary tools that allowed us to postpone the grants to the next year were introduced, these are not long-term solutions. These have to be still found, and I hope there will be space to talk about it later in this session.
Thank you very much, Justyna. Let's stay in the research now and let's look for the future perspective. I would like to ask Director Żebrowska and you, Justyna, about your assessment of the impact of COVID on research collaboration between Poland and US. In the short perspective you just mentioned, but in the long perspective, and about the tools you are taking into consideration now, because as you mentioned, you postpone the projects, you extend current projects, you allow to have an online session and so on. But how will it look like later on? Will it be a big comeback to what we had in the past? Oh, now it's a room for complete change, let's say maybe improvement, or let's say redesign? Director Żebrowska, please.
So, as I said, I am delighted to be at this conference today because I have spent a large part of my professional life working to strengthen Polish-American collaboration. And this collaboration is right now in a good place because of the COVID, closing borders and so on. When we speak about a long-term strategy, I should mention Polish-US-Poland agreement on science and technological cooperation, which was signed in 2018. It was a very important document. And as part of this cooperation, the Ministry of Science and Higher Education, along with higher education institutions in Poland and in the US, plan to organize a joint committee meeting and was preparing to define the priority disciplines in which this cooperation would be enhanced. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, it was postponed. So nevertheless, the agreement will develop and strengthen bilateral cooperation, and JCM will be carried out online next spring. So when speaking about our programs, I would like to mention the program, Polish-American program, Walczak program. The aim of this program is to strengthen the potential of Polish scientific units and medical entities by supporting the international mobility of researchers in the fields of cardiology, cardiac surgery, oncology, allergology, and infectious diseases. And this program offers visits lasting between 3 to 6 months. So it's similar to Top 500 Innovators. And the visits in Walczak's programs there are two best medical institutions in the US. Unfortunately, again, due to COVID-19 and border closures, our beneficiaries were unable to complete the internship. So this will have to take place when the situation has improved. Just to summarize, this year has taught us that even when we believe that we are well prepared for every circumstances, something unexpected can happen. In times of crisis, it is good to look for the positive sides of the certain situation. And what was especially uplifting throughout last year was the solidarity demonstrated by higher education institutions and NGOs worldwide. And as Justyna said, we try our best to change our programs, postponed, but we are keep doing. So, thank you.
Thank you a lot. Thank you a lot for the inspiration, but also optimism for the future. I hope it will work. So we keep our finger crossed that soon the situation will improve. Justyna, how about Fulbright's future?
Well, this program is lasting for 75 years, so I really hope that another 75 years is ahead of us, but it doesn't mean it will be the same form and the same means because the world is changing. The way the program was invented 75 years by Senator Fulbright was the way it was fitting the reality of post-war world. And as you know better than I do, the academia, the research world has changed since then, and also the means that we have at our disposal to follow up with our research, to engage in international cooperation has changed. And you know, I think that, well, it's a quote from I believe Prime Minister Churchill that is being repeated on and on recently, that it should never overlook possibilities that there are in a crisis and chances that there are in it. But there's a bit of truth in it. I think that some things, some issues that were already there were just amplified by the current epidemic crisis, and we just see them in brighter light, and some measures will have to be taken to adjust different tools more to the needs of the academia. I believe that more flexibility should be introduced, that there should be more possibilities for short-term or flexible grants that unfortunately are at the moment very difficult at the Fulbright program as such. I hope that within a few years, because things don't happen overnight at Fulbright, it's a huge machinery, a lot of stakeholders involved, that it will be possible to adjust our tools, our scholarship, our fellowships to those new realities, and just basically to the needs of academia, because this is what we are serving for. We are, first of all, and this has to be reminded, we are a program that should enhance intercultural cooperation, intercultural understanding, build bridges between nations. And academic world, scientific world is kind of selected as the platform to direct that. But nevertheless, we should really reflect on the realities of the new world, and I guess also wait a little bit what this new reality will be like, because we still don't know, right? We can only predict, but we don't really know what the world will be like in a year from now.
Thank you. Let's a lot of still predictions, contingency plans, a lot of uncertainty. How about innovation? Let's move now to the innovation. And I would like to firstly ask Paul and then Professor Moncarz, how does the collaboration on innovation currently looks like? And do we already face a deep crisis, or the deepest crisis will come in a while?
Thank you for the chance to share some thoughts on innovation. My first reaction is that I hearken back to sort of bad times, and we are clearly, it's been a very difficult period for the world. However, there is an enormous opportunity to try new things, to think about different ways to educate. I'll give you one example. We had a program on Stanford's campus, very much like the Top 500 program, coming this last summer. As an organization, the SCPD, the organization that I ran, pivoted and did that entire program online. And by some accounts, it was more effective, with more attention paid to each individual than it was when the groups were on the Stanford campus and they would get lost in the beauty of the Bay Area and so on. So I think that there's enormous opportunity to consider ways to innovate. If you look back in history, 2007 and 2008, Airbnb emerged from that difficult time. The iPhone, we all got an iPhone in 2007. So I think there's enormous opportunity to look at the problems. And in particular, I think higher education is ripe for disruption. Prior to COVID, 10% of the university faculty at Stanford were engaged in online education. During this COVID period, 100%, as Professor Moncarz said, are involved in some level of digital or online education. And I think as we go forward, one of the things that the faculty have learned is they don't need to get out of bed and too far to go deliver their lecture. The students can be in their pajamas taking classes. And there's more time for doing other things, for doing research, for exercising. Professor Moncarz, if I may be so bold, has already lost 30 pounds on the walking that he's done. I have seen him recently. And so I think there's enormous opportunity in higher education to consider ways to experiment and expand and leverage this digital environment. What if, for example, we could send students off for a year and have them do a Peace Corps type, Fulbright type activity, and then keep them engaged in the classroom. There's lots of opportunities, I think, for all of us to consider in our own businesses how we might leverage this unique and unusual time, as difficult as it is.
Thanks a lot, Paul. So Professor Malcasz, how about your opinion on that issue? Do you see as well that many opportunities, or you are a bit more concerned about the future?
One should always be concerned about the future, but also optimistic. Let's start with this motto here. I will not get into education because Paul addressed it very, very adequately, of course. We know that things that were knocking on our doors, and we were writing or reading articles about how the world will look in the future when artificial intelligence will allow us to communicate, to share things on the screen, etc. That future is already here. Actually, part of the future is already past. Okay, so that was an incredible acceleration. We don't realize how incredible the acceleration was. I talked to a friend of mine. We went together to high school, and he went into business, a rather successful business, and he has sort of specialized Amazon or whatever it is in Poland, Allegra, right? Allegra, shipping of goods to various customers. And I said, well, how are you handling it? He said, my entire staff that is associated with handling the infrastructure works from home. And the people who have to be in the warehouse, they are divided into groups. The groups don't come too close to each other. Each group is monitored separately. And between shifts, we have space of time, so even the shifts don't see each other. And we never stop doing business. Actually, we are doing more business than before because we changed the logistic of our operation. I was listening to him saying, wow, that's so impressive. Of course, it happens in Poznań, not to rub salt in the wound for other cities that don't have good logistics. But so that's an example of something that's happening. In Poland. What's happening in the world that allows us to talk right now? We had Zoom was sort of new things. We're listening, we're hearing. Is it good? Is it safe, etc. Today we have at least 5 platforms, leading platforms in the world that are beginning to compete. That incredible mammoth of Microsoft is competing with Google, is competing with others to become a major player in a space that before they pretty much ignored. They ignored. Cisco had that special screen. You could buy it for hundreds of thousands of dollars if you were executive, and that was it. Look at what's happening right now in our conversation. Now, another area. Nobody in his right mind would suggest that you can develop from scratch a vaccine within 1 year. And we are about to release it to the entire world. Incredible. Cooperation that before would not happen because of patents, because of secrets, because of government grants, because it would have to go through channels and chains of things that would block progress for years. It's happening. That teaches us something. I'm sorry that we have to learn it that way, but that lesson is not going to disappear. Tremendous change in innovative approach to cooperation in medical fields. So I would say if not as good as before, I would say actually that is better than it was before in terms of speed of innovation at every level. That warehouse in Poznań and the Pfizer and other companies that work on the vaccination at every level.
Thank you very much, Professor Montash, for being that optimistic and showing us the progress. So let's play a bit futurologist, because you mentioned the areas, the niches which are currently being developed, and it's going faster. But Paul, maybe I will start with you now. Do you see another areas which will develop? But also, if you could indicate some areas in the future, some sectors, some parts of our life that will not longer take place like it was before. So you mean some optimistic measures, but also indicating the real change in other parts of our lives.
So as I think about it, again, I know the higher education space quite well. Boy, I'm really excited about the professional and extended education opportunity. What we're seeing with universities, place-based education, I think, I was going to write an article, place-based education is dead, long live place-based education. The idea is that the way that we have, universities have pivoted gives us hope. But many universities want to go back to the old ways, want to go back to, let's just get back to the classroom and do that same teaching. I don't think that that's going to be possible. And part of the reason is that there is a tremendous interest in now what I would call the 60-year degree. And so if I put on it in a crystal ball in the education space, it's no longer a 4 or 8 year, 10-year PhD in higher education. It's really a 60-year degree, because 15 years ago, data science wasn't a career. 10 years ago, artificial intelligence was a figment of the imagination, maybe in Star Trek or Star Wars, something like this. I think today those are fields that need constant updating in order to for people to remain vibrant. Not only the engineers, but also the leaders. And I think the notion of the degree and professional executive education and supplying education to what amounts to a $300 billion market per year, there's lots of innovation that's pent up and going to be addressing that huge opportunity. And so I think education from that perspective will drive change into the entire education ecosystem from K to gray, as we would say, from K to gray. And I think all of us will need to be involved and engaged in that. So I see both a significant change that will happen in higher education. It'll never go back to the way it was. And I also see an enormous future opportunity in, I would call, professional education. And people will start to focus on not let me learn an entire field and explore something specifically, but rather give me what I need just in time and just for me. Tailor that education to my experience. So that would be the future state that I see in terms of education, and as well for all of us as professionals in the fields of endeavor that we seek to improve and to get better.
Thanks a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, we have last 5 minutes. The discussion is going great. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, the next session will start 10:15. So I will just quickly go to the last questions, because we are about curious your opinion related to the role of the individuals, in particular top 500 innovators in this turbulent time. Director Żebrowska, if you could just give us a 1-2 sentence message to the community. How can we contribute? How can we support? What can we do for the sake of the common, let's say, wellness?
It's rather difficult to say all things in one sentence, but I try. This is what is important. It's to exchange experience with the international community, and in this way we can learn from each other and remember that we are not alone, particularly in the time of crisis. And I truly believe that the Top 500 Innovator Association will remain the organization that supports Polish-American cooperation. So I think it's all what I can say right now, and all the best to you, Top 500 Innovators Association.
Thanks a lot, Professor Montash. As one of the founding father, what's your message to us?
First of all, I couldn't be prouder of anything in my life than the Top 500 Innovators. I am watching you. I am following you on LinkedIn. in papers published, in your businesses. Incredible group, incredible. And the fact that you are supporting each other, the fact that you are in leadership in many places in the country and in international universities. That's wonderful. Keep that position. You have to continue fighting for it because there are others that will try to grab it. But you are well equipped to be in leadership, showing how you can work in many cultures with new ideas. Some of them came from Berkeley, from Stanford, from Cambridge. And that's my best message for you. And I hope to continue being proud of each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thanks. We do our best. Justina, Fulbright is one of our main partners, partner in the daily collaboration. How about your message to the community?
I believe that top 500 and associations alike have profound role and growing role in nowadays world. Because basically what you're a network, and each of you also brings your own network to this network, and this is what matters right now. Intersectionality is one of the key words, and you have it all. You have people of different disciplines. You have people crossing the borders between academia and business world and administration. So you bring different values together. You bring different attitudes together, and this is what matters, and what is adding on, and what has a chance to build up something new and something creative, and even today's conference is a good example of this.
Thanks a lot. And last but not least, Paul, how about your message to us? What could we contribute? What could we change? What could we maybe redesign? How could we find our role in this turbulent time?
Yeah, I think the COVID virus, as terrible as it has been, has shined a bright light on what is possible. And in particular, I'm an optimist. I believe that an organization like the Top 500 is all about making the connections. I think that those of us who will be successful in the future will be able to network, will be able to leverage those networks to action, not just for discussion and cocktail hour. But rather, how can you really start to reach people, to think about opportunities, and to build the connections that will actually activate and make an impact? And so I think that that's the sort of good news and bad news in the COVID era. And I think the Top 500 is a great platform to think about how you can maintain active connections so that you might be able to activate these opportunities, whether it's drug development and delivery, whether it's really building opportunities inside of Poland or across the EU, or really across the world. And I think it starts with the Top 500 network. And I know Daria Tatai will be speaking later about network thinking, so I want to plug her session. I think it's all about that. And how can you leverage that network to get something done? I would say that Stanford and the design thinking innovation spirit is a bias to action. So keep the action going, and certainly keep us posted on your progress.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much for today's session. And that was really the last intervention was really quick. I believe that Patricia and Janek are proud of me as a moderator to manage to fit to the tight schedule we had today. I would like to once again thank the great speakers we had during the session, international Polish-American collaboration in the field of research and innovation during COVID-19. One of our guests today wrote something very important, I believe. We are life learners now. I believe it's happening, and we are facing the real change. We are living in an interesting time. So once again, thank you very much. In a year, we plan to have again a Top 500 alumni meeting jointly with the Polish-American Innovation Bridge. I really, really hope we will have at some moment the opportunity to meet face to face with you, with the Top 500 community. So as at the moment, I would like to invite you to follow our other session, and in particular as well the networking session, where you can meet innovative people from Poland and around the world, because we have guests today with us from as well other countries. Once again, thank you a lot, and I wish you all the best, good health in those turbulent times, nice day, and let's keep in touch. Bye. Thank you.